What has gone down this weekend has absolutely blown everyone away, not only careful observers of the industry but even insiders who just cannot fathom that a movie that is not IP driven, starring newcomers, relative newcomers, original music and zero to no publicity in the traditional sense of interviews goes on to gross over 100 crores worldwide on its opening weekend. This is something that stars in the current market dream of. This is something so unprecedented that a star like Ajay Devgan with a successful IP like Son of Sardar is compelled to postpone his film by a week because there is a rise in hype of Saiyaara, and in order to avoid the wave that may eat up his business, the same Ajay Devgan who would take up movie clashes right up on the chin with stars like Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan is hesitant to compete with newcomers. What's hilarious about what has gone down with Saiyaara is that a movie starring Sonakshi Sinha titled Nikita Roy that I begrudgingly saw and somehow got out of unscathed actually was supposed to release weeks earlier but postponed its release to come out on the same weekend with Saiyaara, assuming कि माँ के साथ तो tough competition था, Saiyaara with newcomers कौन ही देखने जाएगा. This is how unpredictable the movie business is, and I again say this with absolute chest. Anyone telling you that they called this, that they envisioned this movie to have a 30 plus crore Sunday at the box office is lying to you. No matter how much clarity they have with their Adarsh or how komal their approach may be to the business. You may have assumed for this film to click owing to what you have seen with the re-releases of movies like Laila Majnu and Sanam Teri Kasam, but the extent to which it has clicked with the audience was absolutely shocking. Seeing the varied reactions of Saiyaara, I have realized that there are 4 categories of people regarding this type of content in the market. The first category of people is who I strongly identify with. These are the category of people who acknowledge the merits and demerits of the movie for what it is. They acknowledge why the movie may have worked and move on with their lives. This is the category of people who do not take the success and failure of films personally, where if they do not like the movie and it goes on to do great business, they do not rant and rave about it on social media consistently, shaming people for liking the movie. They move on. Undeniably, all the people in this category loved the music of this film, were torn about some of its themes because it has the hangover of Mohit Suri films, and for the most part were invested in the storytelling. The second category of reactions, in my opinion, are the people who think that they are better than the content of the film, who dismiss it as juvenile, silly, and immature of anyone to praise it. While everyone is warranted to have their opinion, the manner in which it gets problematic is when they start trolling people for simply liking a film. These terms that keep on getting flung around regarding nibba nibbis is a very dismissive stance towards someone who is simply identifying themselves in the movie as young adults. I never thought that as a millennial, I would have to deal with adults in my demographic talking like the jaded uncles in family gatherings, ranting and raving about हमारे ज़माने में जो आर्ट था और उनका ज़माना 10 साल पुराना है, by the way, and shaming primarily Gen Z for their choices. I understand that the reactions of these movies that you see in theaters are rather over the top, but this arrogant stance of believing that you are the flag bearer of the content that should work is honestly nauseating to listen to. I remember Anurag Kashyap once saying that if you're in a room of autiers and independent filmmakers, it's one of the most frustrating rooms to have a discussion in because everyone believes that they know what art is and what should be recognized and celebrated. I personally never connected with movies like Pushpa and Gadar 2. I will only point out why I did not like the film, but I acknowledge the appeal. This fool's paradise of believing this young romance is stupid and warrants no attention from the audience is a very boomer and outdated stance. The third category, in my opinion, is the worst of the 4, and these are the people who are chronically online who just cannot fathom anything being successful. These people are not even interested in watching the films but spend most of their time trying to debunk the growing business of Saiyaara as only being corporate bookings, doing a deep dive on the family history of both the leads, on how they may have invested secretly crores of money to launch their children. This category of people deal with nauseating amounts of cope, refusing to believe that theaters were going houseful in the weekend. They would much rather believe everything has been manipulated because they want with a passion to believe that Hindi cinema is dead and the film industry is absolutely bleeding and would want nothing more than its eventual downfall. They are essentially the embodiment of the troll monkey army you saw in Superman recently. They are less interested in actually having an individual take but would much rather take a contrarian stance, hoping and praying that their conspiracy theory rings true. The final category of people is the funniest to me, and these are the Jyotishis or trade analysts who end up doing this with every blockbuster in the Hindi film industry. Wait for an interview to drop where we will be lectured on how Hindi cinema कितने सालों से यूथ के लिए पिक्चर नहीं बना रहा था, कि हम ना दुख और दर्द वाली रोमांस बनाना ही भूल गए हैं, कैसे हम इंटीरियर इंडिया से कनेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। वो ही घिसा पिटा हुआ डायलॉग मिलेगा कि ये हिंदी फिल्म प्रोड्यूसर्स बैंड्रा से लेकर अंधेरी वेस्ट तक ही सोचते हैं और इन्हें लगता है ये ही इंडिया है। All of this analysis is not some crazy foreshadowing, but it's all retrospective analysis. When they see the results, they hypothesize why it is true. They create their opinions based on how popular the movie is, based on its advanced bookings, and after the final verdict, sermonize all of us on how they called it and knew it all along. This cyclical nature continues with every movie, and they never change their pattern. Just wait for the same in the next few days. I say this again, I was a young chap in 12th grade during Ashiki 2. I remember howling in some of the sequences. Howling. I without a doubt believe that Ashiki 2 is a far superior film from a screenplay and music perspective, but I also acknowledge why a story like Saiyaara works. It has capable newcomers who fare off way better than most launches we have had in recent years. It has spectacular music, and I think what's more important is that in the end it leaves us with something more hopeful versus tragic, contrary to most Mohit Suri films. Also, credit should be given to Mohit Suri, who stuck to his guns with this film and the talent he backed. Mukesh Bhatt with Ashiki 3 could have literally made bank if he wasn't so stubborn about his IP. I think the most important thing to acknowledge is that there is genuine exhaustion with seeing leading men in their 40s, 50s and 60s genuinely pretend to be desirable leads in their 30s, romancing young women or being blood-soaked from head to toe, blasting and killing everything that comes in their way. But agar holistically dekhe na, it will always help you in your career when you look like a doppelganger of a YouTube movie reviewer. Hey. I wonder why such a reception was not showered upon a movie like Metro in Dino. Maybe because it's rather dispersed in its focus of age demographics versus strictly being a romance for a particular age group? Who knows? Because I believe that Metro also deserved more love than it got. You know, in all of this, what becomes the most interesting to me regarding movies focusing on heartbreak and love in general is that 99% of the movies that become huge hits, their romantic anthems are performed by male vocalists. There has to be a theory behind why movies with male vocals describing heartbreak resonates more with the Indian audience versus female vocalists. There is an explanation for the same, as majority of the theatre-going audience is male, so filmmakers often cater to who is buying tickets, but even more so, love is still a luxury for most people in India. So whatever they do feel, especially as young adults, is so visceral and almost like the end of the world that heartbreak communicated through music has almost spurned ashiks in the process. You look at songs like Tum Hi Ho, Hamdard, Kabira, Channa Mereya, Hamari Adhuri Kahani, Man Bhareya, Phir Le Aaya Dil, Bekhayali and the song Filhal with Akshay Kumar. They often become so popular because they tap into something that's so resonant with most men, and this was interestingly observed by Karan Johar in a round table 5 years ago.
People love Dard. Like I remember Farah telling me that Bhushan, I think, told her that Dard chalta hai or disco chalta hai. So that's how he made Darde Disco. Because they made Darde because he says Dard chalta hai, which is true. The top song of this year is a song called Filhal, which is not in any movie. It's a non-film song which Akshay is in. It's the biggest streaming song of the year. Airwaves, the charts, the downloads, because people are all men. And also there's another theory that is told that if the male audio, because women love to hear men in pain, and men also like to hear themselves in pain.
Theory.
So I'm telling you, have you heard of a Blockbuster sad song that a woman has sung?
The last time I remember I saw a female vocalist have a chart-busting song in a Bollywood movie was Ranjan from Do Patti and Agar Tum Saath Ho from Tamasha. Why do you think the male angst through music heavily outweighs the ones featuring female singers? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Finally, I genuinely believe that an anomaly of Saiyaara becoming a blockbuster is a great change for the industry. Can you imagine that other than the YRF Spy Universe and Rani Mukherjee movies, this is their biggest hit since 2016? I love how it completely breaks the clutter of star dependence. The only thing I would request the makers and people to refrain from is to make sweeping statements like the leading pair are the new reckoning of SRK or Kajol, on how they have redefined stardom or how they will take over the world. I think one should hold their horses and function with caution, because how the fate of celebrities changes every Friday is something that no one can predict. Every single time an actor and his team has gone overboard in convincing the public that they are the new star on the block, it has not gone well for them. Revel in the success and celebrate versus getting ahead of oneself and ruining the great first impression you have made through this film. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below why you think Saiyaara has become such a big blockbuster. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.